exploration of I think part of what you're giving us, Moetu, is an insight, and I don't mean that as a mental thing, but a recognition of a, I think, a way of being that in some way we all deeply, deeply know, but don't know.
Yeah.
Or have forgotten.
You know, I always say this, I always say, we have the memory. We have the memory. We just, it's buried under the layers.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had so much teachings, school teaching, that yeah, it's over, it's covered over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's part of what's powerful about hearing you is, and I don't know how I know this, but when I hear you speaking, there is something that resonates, that like one thing that that came to mind is I have a deep relationship with a tree that is very close by here, and whenever I come back from being away or whatever, like when you were speaking about your river, there that if I don't go visit the tree soon, there's something that feels wrong in me.
Yeah.
And when I hear you speaking, I was like, oh, right, okay. There's
a connection.
A connection, and the strength of the strength of the tree. It's an old oak tree. Mm-hmm. The strength of the tree is my strength. It has given me strength.
Yeah.
And interesting.
Yeah, when I go home to New Zealand and I try to go back to my mountain, sometimes I can't because it's way really in the bush. And when I've gone near it or past it, but I can't go there, I actually cry. I cry because I can't get there. And it's like a yearning that part of me is not is it's there, but I just can't go. It's a longing.
Yeah. We were talking about longing at the beginning of our conversation before you about that, the longing to be here, to connect to something deeper, right?
Ourselves.
Yeah, ourselves, and ourselves in each other.
Yeah, because I'm also very tribal. I'm also very community. And that's something that I found quite hard being here
in Germany.
Is the individualism. And but it's gotten better. We have a community and a good group of people. Yeah.
Virginia, did you want to say something?
I'm not sure that it still is appropriate, but I could share that I'm just sort of, I've lived in the woods up north for many years and have recently, well, it's not so recent, it's about 15 years, been back in the city. And a part of me is crying inside because of that. And I can't get there very often. So I've been trying to figure out how to live, to be in relation as I was up north. And then now, listening to you, I thought I don't sort of get something, and yet I'm beginning to feel happy inside at something like that I could somehow approach just what's around me. So I just recently been connecting with this poet, David White, through his poetry. And he has a poem called Start Close In. And your advice to just recognize that perhaps I'm not separate from the rivers or the trees or that beautiful smell or the sound of the wind through the pine needles. That just choosing carefully what I eat, and visiting there's some very sick trees here in the city, and so just being next to them. One of the workshops, or in part of one of the workshops that Elizabeth and Thomas did, someone was speaking of remind the tree of its I amness. The tree and doing my best to remind it. So I'm just, as I'm sitting here, not really understanding, I think I am, some part of me is beginning to understand that how I might have this relationship with something that's not separate from me just by caring more, perhaps, and not forgetting.
Yeah.
And so when I choose what food I'm going to eat or where I'm going to walk, and so I'm just beginning to touch. I find myself quite puzzled here, and at the same time nourished. So I thank you, and I look forward to the unfolding of the conversation.
It's really interesting, you know. We don't use one of our strongest senses, and that's our memory. You know, when I was in America, and I traveled for quite a bit working, and I'd get so lonely, and so I'd cry for home, and then anyway, I told my cousin about it, and she said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm outside." And she said, "Go and lie on the ground." And I said, "Yes, I am." And I was crying. This was about 12 years ago, I think. And she said, "You can feel the ground?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "What does it feel like?" And I said, "The ground." And she said, "We have the same ground." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Turn around, turn over." And she said, "Now what do you see?" And I said, "The sky." And she said, "We have the same sky." She said, "It's the same. Your sky is the same sky we're sharing down here. And the earth that you have there is the same." She said, "Just change the illusion." Yeah. And she said, and open the senses and the smells, you know. And then all I did was started to remember my home, you know, and I'm lying on the ground, and then I closed my eyes, and everything just came in. Yeah. I'm the same as you. I'm a country girl, brought up on the land, and lived in the city, and it was a big shock for me also, but also too, you know, like I just call in the memories. I just call in the memories, and then I'd make them live.
Thank you. I wonder also if